Well, I think I am right now on the last day of spraying this Union Jack guitar. If you'd like to follow the process of turning a block of wood like this into a guitar like this, then you've come to the right place. And if you would like to see me give this guitar away, click subscribe, hit the bell. Aged look that I wanted to go with satin with it. So I want to be somebody that would encourage you to be an encourager of others and make this world a better place, right? Well, the scroll is looking a whole lot better than it did when I first got started, doesn't it? Today, we are going to keep working on that Union Jack guitar. And you saw me get the staining to a certain place after really screwing it up one time and then having to redo it. I'm going to turn it into a full-on Union Jack burst. And we're going to go ahead and get the polyurethane, a satin polyurethane on there. And let's see how far we can get with that Union Jack guitar. Look at the description below to see how you can nominate somebody to be the recipient of this guitar, or potential recipient, I should say, because it's crazy enough the way it is right now. A world in a pandemic, people go a little nuts. Let's do some good things and bring some smiles to people. What I find to be the best for cutting these is to actually use the blade that's meant for cutting metal, for cutting the harder woods. It seems to go best through it without leaving or without breaking, chipping off. And I cut kind of up to the line, and then I'll use a sander to sand down to the line where I want to be, so I leave a little bit of the line there. So you'll notice I just took off most of what is known as the volute, that little bump that's there, and that's put there for strengthening. So you might wonder why, well, why would I take most of the volute off? Dave Roussan, actually, when he built the original Clouds, there's not a volute, there's just kind of a nice transition, so I'm gonna kind of go more for that same type of transition in there. Of past video, I said I'll be doing this section. I'll be taking this off a little bit, and I'm going to be using the Dremel again, and I'm going to now start to shape this down the way that that should be. Well, you can obviously see that I got a ways to go there yet, but you can start to see it taking shape, how the edges will come around. There's obviously, yeah, a lot of sanding that I need to do and shaping here yet, but this comes around, and there's just a little bit of a ridge that comes down there into a little crevice here at the back that will be a little bit more profound by the time I'm done, as I come around with some sandpaper in here and get that little bit of a crease. So the other thing is, I do this, and we're talking about like this horn, which we're working on. As I'm sanding, I'm watching my lines. I want to make these lines so that these lines are nice and straight. We don't want them waving back and forth. We want nice straight lines. Well, you know, obviously it's curved, but that the line itself here, if you look down this line, it's a straight line. It's not waving back and forth, but these distances are staying the same, or they're tapering at the same pace. I've now done 3 full days of spraying the polyurethane on this, and what that means is that in each one of those days I will spray. I give about 45 minutes, and so I give the first spray, which is a thin coat, just kind of to get it tacky, leave it for 45 minutes, and then I start to spray a little heavier, and then I wait an hour and a half between spraying again, and I will spray then approximately 5 to 7 times throughout a day. It takes me the whole day then to do that, because every hour and a half I need to go in and spray. My family kind of teases me because they'll hear my alarm go off and they're like, time to spray. So anyway, so I've done that 3 days where I do it for the day and then I leave it for at least 3 days, and then I will do a light sanding with 600 grit, and then I come back in and I do that in another day. And so I've done that 3 times. So that means I have got a minimum of 15 coats, which I know that I've got more than that on here. So probably somewhere in that 18, 19 coats, somewhere in there. I actually thought that I was at the point where I was probably going to be able to start just putting it together today. And then I saw, oh crud, I must have got a little ambitious on the last time of spraying here, and I ended up with a little bit of a run. I don't even know if you can see that on the camera. You probably can't, but there's just a little bit of a ridge right in here that I need to take off. Now, if I was going to be doing a gloss finish on this, that wouldn't be a problem, because I would just sand it down so it was smooth, and then I would polish it up. With the satin, after that last spray, to not sand it, because it's a satin, and you just make sure that your last spray is a really good smooth spray, and then you just leave it. But I got this little bit of a run there, so I'm going to go for a 4th day, and I will need to use, I'll start off with 600 grit and just sand this down. Wanted to let you know that my wife Marnie and I are going to be doing some extensive traveling here over the next few months like we have never done before. The drawback to that is that it's going to make it really hard for me to be working on the guitars directly. Except for one thing, I'm going to go ahead. I always say go ahead. I don't know why I say that. Except for one thing, I'm going to put the neck and the body together and get them ready so that when we do some of the traveling by car around, I'm going to take this with me, and I'm going to be able to work on sanding it and getting the body prepped in a way that is very similar to the Union Jack guitar with the heel and how I shaped the neck with that. That's really where, this is where I really came up with that idea of gluing, screwing, and putting a dowel in to make this nice and sleek. So this is really rough yet. There's going to be a lot of this that disappears as I shape these two together. All this area down around in here, that is all going to be removed and reshaped, and this is going to come up, and this is going to be pretty thin here as it comes up into here, so it'll be a really nice heel for the hand to come alongside. But there's a couple things that have to happen that's going to be different. So right now, well, I don't want to make the marks, but we've got approximately a screw hole here and one here, and then there would be one here and one like over in here. Well, that doesn't work. If I pull this up, you can see there's a screw hole right there. I end up having to move it. And once again, using a Warmoth neck. I absolutely love the Warmoth necks. It is a 12-inch radius neck, and it is a 6150 stainless steel frets on there. What I need to do is I'm going to have to drill another hole, because I'm going to move this one this way and over just a little bit, and that's okay. I just got to remember there's a truss rod coming through here. That truss rod coming through, this is the edge of it here, and what I'm going to be doing is moving this up over into this area in here. I will put a different hole there. I've got a little template that I use so I can mark that out, and I've used it multiple times, never had any problems. I just got to keep it away from the truss rod because you don't want to drill into the truss rod. Also, just so you notice, warranty void if used without hard finish. Oils are not satisfactory. So if you do get one from Warmouth, there are certain things that they will not let you return the neck for. And I don't need to. I mean, they're fantastic necks. But like I said, I reshape them. So like I've changed the volute here and everything, which I'm sure that would render it, you know, I can't send this back once I've done things like this. Here is my template, and this just matches in here, and I can see that those holes all line up there. Well, what I'm doing now is I am going to add in, I'm actually going to change a couple holes here. I'm going to put this here. When it comes time then for me to put it in here, I just got to remember that this is going to be like this, and so I do right on here. So this is a cloud pocket, this side up, so I just slide that in there, and then I've got my two, well, here I need to put all 4 dots. My screw is actually an 11/64, so I will put an 11/64 inch hole in here, but I will put a smaller hole here, probably maybe a 9/64, because this needs to be small to pull it tight, and this needs to be a little looser so that the screw will slide through. Now, it's obviously very important here that I don't go into the fretboard. I'm wanting to stop shy of that, so I'm going to set my depth here. So do that first. Now I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'll take the sander to this, and then I will start to shape this in the way I want that to be shaped in. And I'll even be shaping part of the neck itself here so that this all comes into this one nice little rounded peak, and it'll be really comfortable once it's all said and done. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit different than if I were to do the neck through like Dave Roussan does. Then this would be a little bit thinner yet, and it'll come to a little bit more of a kind of a thin point. But because I end up taking this down and sanding it to shape it, it's going to get rid of some of the wood, and that's why, because I've got a little bit thinner area than what I normally would if I was just using a regular, like a Telecaster with a neck plate. That's why I do the glue, the screw, and the dowels on here, and it just seems to give me a really smooth, good feel, solid feel to it. The drawback, of course, is you don't just take it apart and change your neck out quick. So that's the drawback. But I've had a lot of really good luck with doing this for a lot of years. You know, I guess I don't have any guitars that are 30 years old to test them at that point, but I've got guitars that are 10 years old and they look really good yet. Things that I've noticed that I do have to watch out for is that it's like, I'm gonna let this dry tonight and then I'll sand it down. But before I do like a final staining and then coat over all of this, I need to let this dry with these pegs in here for a while, like a few weeks at least. or even a month if I can give it that much time, if I work on it, which this one I actually will. I'll have these pegs in there like they are before I put a finish on, probably for about 6 weeks even. And the reason why that seems to be an issue is because it's a different grain and a different wood. You can get just a little bit of a line in there, either raising or lowering with the moisture, and I suppose even with the moisture of the air. You know, how humid is it, how dry is it, and these might change size at a different rate than what the rest of the maple does. Even though this is also a maple, this is a maple, and this is a maple. You know, it's still a different wood. So that's the one thing with that, but it's still, I think it looks great, looks fantastic. Definitely looks better to me than what screws and ferrules look, although I do use screws and ferrules at times. And I think they work out good too, and they can look all right, but this just really ends up being nice and smooth and sleek. I like to give little details of things that I do that just help those of you who are beginners, or if you're thinking of getting this started, learning from my mistakes, because I'll admit I make plenty of mistakes, and I would like to keep sharing those with you, and hopefully you won't make the same mistakes that I've made. So a couple things about this guitar. First thing, if you see, I always put a towel down on my desk when I put these down. When it comes time to finish one out after I've sprayed, because I've sprayed all the satin finishes on this, I've got somewhere in the area of 19 to 21 coats of satin polyurethane on it. I always change out and put a clean towel down, because there have been times where I have done all the work and everything, set it down on my towel, and what I didn't realize is I had just a small little piece of wood chip there or something, and it leaves a little scratch. So avoid that. Change them out. Put a soft cloth down. Today, I'm just going to fly through and we're going to get this puppy put together. So kind of excited about it. Let's get right to it.